And right now we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick alongside Katie Greifeld taking you through to that closing bell. It's a global simulcast. Carol Massar, Tim Stenovec, they join us now. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms, television, radio, our partnership with YouTube. With all of the major U.S. indices solidly in the green, the S&P up 1%, the NASDAQ indices, Carol Massar, up about 2%.
Yeah, thank you, semiconductors. They go up, they go down, they go up, they go down. They go up today, more than 5%. Every name, the 30 names in the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index, 30 of them, they are all higher in today's session.
Which one's your favorite?
Ooh, that's a good one. I like TSM.
Love them all.
I like, me, I used to talk about the
She loves all her stocks.
names in
equally.
China, and, I do.
All right.
I don't have a favorite,
Also higher.
but I do like TSMC.
Also higher today is oil. Brent up $91 a barrel, up another $2.20. WTI up another $1.68, $85 roughly for WTI futures, Katie.
You wouldn't know it from looking at the equity market.
I know.
We've been talking about that on the close, this sort of disconnect that we're seeing. You do see that a little bit when you take a look at the bond market. 10-year yields back above 460. It's going to be interesting to see how long we can sort of see that discordance among these asset classes.
Yeah, and it gets to this idea of what type of dispersion we could potentially see in this earnings season because of all of the factors sort of at play, including some of the geopolitical factors that have driven a lot of concerns about inflation and whether that inflation persists. A relatively light earnings afternoon here. We are expecting a couple out of insurance company Chubb as well as credit card company Capital One. Meanwhile, the closing bells in New York has green across the screen for the most part, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average adding almost 400 points on the day, or about 0.7%. The S&P 500 up about 66 points, or 0.9%. The NASDAQ Composite up 1.3%. The NASDAQ 100 up 1.9%. And the Russell 2000, the small caps, Carol Massar, adding about 45 points, or 1.5%.
All right, Romaine Bostick, I go back to the S&P 500, 230 names gaining on this Tuesday. Katie got 271 to the downside and 2 unchanged.
A lot of breath when it comes to the circle here, which measures the sectors. 9 sectors finishing in positive territory, led by information technology, higher by 2.4%. That is the big green slice on your screen there. Energy also having a great day, as we were talking about. Healthcare to rising by about a 0.6%. Meanwhile, take a look at what didn't perform today. Relatively small sectors within the weighting of the index. Consumer staples down by about 1%. Communication services not too far behind, Carol.
All right, so let's go to some individual gainers. Let's talk about SpaceX. At its high, up more than 8% intraday today, but finishing with about a 3% gain here at the close on this Tuesday. Macquarie coming out saying, hey, the stock's pullback offers investors a compelling entry point to buy at a discount. Stock down almost 40% from its high on June 16th. That was after 3 days of trading from its IPO. Meantime, I just want to throw this story in too. SpaceX has set the stage for one of the largest share unlocks in capital market history, with as much as $116 billion worth of stock becoming eligible for sale for the first time next month. That's on August 6th. That's 2 days after the company does its first quarterly earnings. So we'll be watching. But nonetheless, investors buying in today's session today. Utz Brands, let's go there. Interesting name here today. This one up 88%, almost 89%. Company agreed to be taken private in a $2.9 billion deal with Intersnack Group, giving Intersnack its first foothold in the U.S. market, acquiring all of Utz's Class 8 shares for $14.25 each. Stock closed at just a little bit over $14 a share today. Deal expected to close in the fourth quarter and will be financed by cash from Intersnack as well as a term loan and asset-based lending facilities.
What's your favorite Utz product?
Potato chips?
Yeah.
You mean versus pretzels?
Yeah. They have so many different brands, including Tim's Cascade Snacks.
Which one is your favorite?
I like Tim's.
Shocker.
Simple.
Interesting.
Simple. All right, General Motors, I just want to throw that into the mix, if I may. GM up almost 5% here at the close. This is after the company raised its full-year profit forecast by another $500 million after beating second quarter earnings estimates, powered by stronger margins on its largest vehicles and lower tariff costs. They did lower, though, their expected net income by at least $1.5 billion to a range of $9.9 billion to $11.4 due to electric vehicle-related charges, but they don't expect further large write-downs on EVs and batteries because they've all kind of written down a lot already.
All right, those are some some gainers. Let's talk about some decliners today, including the worst performer in the S&P 500, Danaher Corp, down 11% today. This was its worst day going back to September of 1991. And at one point, it was the worst day since October 19th, 1987, which
where were you
we
in
all know.
87? Yeah.
I was in the tri-state area.
Were you?
Yeah, I was. That
Were you
was
in college?
That was Black Monday. I was not in college then. The company gave core revenue growth out guidance for the third quarter that fell short of the average analyst estimates. We also actually saw life sciences stocks, other life sciences stock, take a hit as a result of this report. Also, Charles Schwab fell today, despite the fact that earnings topped estimates. Retail investors continue to jump in and out of the market. The volatility sparked by geopolitical uncertainty was a boon for the company. Shares fell by 2.5%. They were up for a portion of the day, then fell a little earlier this afternoon. We spoke to Rick Wurster, the president and CEO of Charles Schwab, a little earlier on our program. He said that the trading platform, saw 3.5 times more volume on down days in the market, meaning the clients are buying the dip.
Yeah.
He said geopolitical risk in the markets, they're more actively trading. He sees more frequent trading, but the size of the trades are often smaller.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
I listened to that interview.
Sorry?
I listened to that interview.
Oh, thank you for tuning in.
I did, yeah.
And you loved it, right?
Hold on.
You're like,
And
you were taking notes. Oh, that's how you do a good
tuned in.
interview. Is that what
And?
happened?
Yeah. I mean, you let him off the hook on a couple of questions there.
Okay.
Carol, but other than that, yeah, it was fine.
Yeah, thank you for your feedback. I'll get the manager for you.
Where were you yesterday, by the way?
Me? I was around.
Yeah, I saw you around, but you didn't stop by.
You
the
seem
close.
a year wiser, Romaine, than you did
wow.
yesterday.
Was it your birthday yesterday?
No.
Oh. Is
No.
a year?
It wasn't?
No, I'm like Benjamin Button. I just get younger.
Katie, is he lying?
What else you got, Tim?
Katie, is he lying?
No comment. I don't want to blow up his spot.
Oh, you
Thank
anchor
you.
teams.
Katie.
You stick together.
You only got a couple more days
Katie.
of
I
this,
know.
so.
Do you care about yields at all?
I care a little bit about yields.
Well, they're
what
up.
happened?
Short-term yields up for a fourth straight session. In fact, now up about 13 basis points on the 2-year yield over that stretch here, as a lot of people now start to price back in some of the inflationary pressures and I guess the potential maybe that the Fed could raise rates. Obviously, there's a pretty direct correlation here between that rise in yields, the sell-off in the Treasury market, and what we're seeing with regards to the rebound, Carol, in oil prices.
All right, quickly, Capital One Financial just crossing the Bloomberg terminal. Let's go to the numbers. Second quarter net revenue, folks, up 27% year over year, 15.9 billion. Net charge-offs, 3.6 billion. That's exactly what the street was forecasting. Second quarter adjusted EPS, $5.81 versus $5.48 year over year. And we're looking at the stock. Maybe we can bring it up here. Just real quickly, I'm going to bring it up here. I'm looking for it. It is up 1.1%.
I also just want to bring in Supermicro here. It looks like they're just providing a bit of a business update, crossing the wire right now on their revenue for the fourth quarter, their fiscal fourth quarter. The company says it will be at the low end of their previous range of $11 to $12.5 billion. Basically, the low end of guidance gross margin will now be at 15 to 17%. That's versus previous guidance of 8.2 to 8.4%. So basically, revenue at the low end of the guidance, for gross margin well above what they previously guided. And the company now saying that its backlog for the fourth quarter hitting a record with new orders topping 60 billion. Of course, this is effectively a builder of data centers, effectively renting out the servers for other folks. As we know, of course, ran into some issues in the past with regard to some accounting issues and whether or not it can get itself back on track. You see the knee-jerk reaction in the after-hours trade up about 6%.
Yeah, it's been a volatile stock, to say the least, in recent years. In 2023, up about 250%. It did rise today along with all the chip stocks. It was up today about 7%, and it's adding to that in the after-hours, up about 6% in the after-hours.
It's interesting to see this update coming from Supermicro. I mean, they were scheduled to report their earnings on August 5th. So not too far from now, but the company making the decision, I guess, to put some good news out there in the market. They did rise today with a lot of the other sort of chip AI names. But I will note that prior to that, they had closed out 6 straight days of losses on the stock, which had been their longest streak since March 2025. But as discussed, I mean, you take a look at that after-hours rally, now higher by more than 11%.
And we should point out, sorry to interrupt,
please.
I mean, just in regards to that share performance, too, we talk about, go back to that last earnings report, what you did see about a pop in the shares, like a 25% rally that day, but by the time you got to the beginning of June, that began to sell off as a lot of those concerns set back in. Those shares heading into today were down, about 50% since the start of June?
Yeah, right. And down 13% year to date, but it doesn't reflect certainly the big pullback that we've seen. I should also point out 19% of the float is short, so there's certainly that negative sentiment continuing. All right, folks, but it is up. Supermicro right now up about 13% in the aftermarket.